Missy, welcome to the KFOG Playspace. Good to have you here at KFOG.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh, there's reverb on her voice.
Can we kill the reverb on her mic? So, all right.
Go ahead.
All right, I was going to say, so you got started by being discovered in a radio competition back in Australia.
I did, yeah. I was 17 and I'd written only 1 or 2 songs really, and I had them on cassette. And my sister sent them into this radio station competition, and yeah, I won that and got my song on the radio because of that, and got to record the song, you know, properly in the studio. And from that, I ended up being signed, and yeah, so that's kind of how it all started for me.
Wow.
And success has been just growing and growing for you. I got to see you perform with Gotye.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill Graham. How was that?
That was really great. Yeah, that was a real surprise, actually. I think Kimbra couldn't do a couple of shows, so they called me up, and I was like, yeah. I was really actually scared that he was going to ask me to do that part in the song.
And he did.
And he did, yeah. I was kind of dreading. I was kind of wanting him to, because it was a real compliment, but dreading it because I can't sing like her. But it ended up being fine, yeah, and just a really fun show. I mean, his audiences were kind of crazy at the time because he was #1.
I know.
Oh.
I mean, he broke so many records. It was just like this frenzied kind of atmosphere, and it was really fun. And
that was my introduction to you, really. So it was fun to see you there in that environment, and you did a fine job.
Thank you.
And you're going out with him again this fall.
I am, yeah. I'm doing most of his East Coast kind of dates, and some of my own solo shows in between that.
Did you guys know each other before fame hit for him? Like, does everybody know each other where you're from?
It's funny because every time someone asks me that, like, oh, do you know so and so? And I feel like saying, it's not, you know, it's not that small a country. Most of the time, I do know who it is. I'm like, yeah, I do. Yeah, well, and he's we actually got the same manager, but even before then, I knew him. Yeah, from the Australian music scene. He's been out for a while too. He's had a couple of albums. And yeah.
And you were introduced to music at a very young age. You had older siblings that were playing music when you were very young, so you were introduced to all different styles of music, right?
Yeah, well, my older brother was a musician. Still is, actually. Doesn't make any money from it, but he does it kind of on the side. But he really influenced me. He had a jazz band growing up that I used to sing in on the weekends, and so I got experience performing when I was like 13 or 14.
Wow.
And yeah, my sister's really musical too, except she's seriously shy, so her idea of going on stage or ever singing in public just terrifies her. So I think I got all the performing genes. I don't know, youngest child, probably centre of attention kind of thing. But yeah, no, they were hugely influential. I mean, they listened to all types of cheesy music, which I soaked in as well. So
I read. Are you still vegetarian?
yes.
Do you have a favorite place? Have you found a favorite place in San Francisco for vegetarians?
Yeah, Cafe Gratitude. I absolutely love.
But they closed.
I know. I was so upset because we drove like halfway around San Francisco yesterday to find it, and got there and there was a sign on the door, and I just didn't know what to do with myself.
I've got a list for you.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Are they reopening, or is it?
No, they have a Mexican place, but there's a bunch of other
I think that's
great,
what the Comadre.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to that instead because that's where it said to go on the door. Anyway.
And that's actually wrong, right? Is that wrong?
Well, no, it's
Cafe
wrong.
Gratitude is.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
And you have a new record out
yes.
that's coming out in a couple of weeks, The Old Razzle Dazzle. And I noticed that you're not on Warner Brothers this time, so you put this out yourself.
I'm with Vagrant Records, actually, an indie label.
An indie label.
Yeah.
So you've gone from the majors to indie.
Yeah, it seems to be the way to go these days.
Yeah.
I think, artists can have much more control over their own careers and their own recordings, and it's much more of a kind of a small unit, which I prefer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for putting out a beautiful record. Thank you
No
for
worries. Thank you so much for having me,
coming
and
to
thanks for
play.
listening.
Yeah.
Missy Higgins. in the future.